Hello, and welcome to Back to School Night 2020. My name is Eric Kursman. I'm your child's English teacher. So let me go and tell you a little bit about our class. First, a little bit about me. This is my 12th year at Blue Ridge Middle School. I've loved all 12 of them. I have a bachelor's in English education from the one, the only University of Michigan. Very sorry for Buckeye fans. I also have my master's from George Mason University in administration. I am a huge reader, avid reader. I spend tons of money I don't have, to my wife's chagrin, on lots of new YA books just so that your kids can have access to all the newest and most exciting books to be able to have them at their fingertips. We'll get them in your hands as soon as possible. I am also an avid writer. I always try and carry around my notebook so I can jot down ideas whenever I can. I've got 3 kids. You can see them right here. Eli's 5, Maya's 3, and Luca just turned 1. They are my new version of a triathlon. Gone are the days of swimming and then biking and then running. Now are the days of the 3 of them. I do love to cook. I bought a smoker this summer. I'm learning how to use that. I'm getting pretty good at it. I've been a drummer since the 4th grade, so I'm sorry if there's that annoying tapping in your house. It's probably me. And I am overexcited to be able to work with you and your family. So, a little bit more. We're going to break tonight into 4 different buckets. Bucket number 1 is going to be about communication, Schoology, a course outline, and content expectations. When it comes to communication, you're going to get a lot from me. Every week, as I've done for the past, I don't know how many years, I will send out a weekly update email that lists what's coming up in class, due dates, deadlines, things to be aware of, and I'll try and keep it in condensed bullet format because we all have too much coming through our inboxes as is. Email is an excellent way to reach me. If you can, just fire off an email to me, eric.kursman@lcps.org, or you can also call me on my new virtual LCPS phone number. Number's there at the bottom. Make sure you get the extension, and I'll be happy to return your call within 24 hours if I miss you. Schoology. Schoology is where the action's at. So if you go to any of our Schoology pages, they will look like this. There's buttons for easily what to find out what we did in class. That's a really helpful button because when you click on it, it'll bring you to our webpage that discusses in detail what we did in class. A quick less than 10-minute recap of the class. You'll be able to see exactly what we did with links to everything, with also kind of some notes on what you really need to do and a quick little homework check. And I'll do that for every single day that we have. In addition, we'll have a link to our Google Meet, to our office hours, which is every Monday from 10:30 to 11, to No Red Ink, which is a program we'll be getting into later in the year on LCPS Go, and a quick little link to email me for any questions. All of our work lives in the materials link, so when you click there, everything should pop up. Schoology is the name of the game this year, so if you need something, start with Schoology. As for our course outline, we're going to be doing a lot of reading and a lot of writing this year. When it comes to the reading, we're going to anchor what we're doing in anchor text. We're going to use novels, short stories, poetry, other various forms of text to make sure that we have kind of a home base where we're learning all the skills that we're going over and learning to master in class. We're going to use book clubs for collaborative group analysis. We're also going to rely on individual book selection so students are be able to exercise choice and enjoyment so they can boost their reading volume. We'll also do different studies throughout the year in literary analysis, nonfiction, speculative fiction, and contemporary fiction. And if you've heard about the writing in the class, we're not losing sight of that. Here comes the writing. We are going to do some work in some choice genres between poetry, flash fiction, memoir, and more we have up our sleeves that we're excited about for this year. But we are going to do some pretty intensive studies when it comes to literary analysis, when it comes to argumentation, when it comes to a variety of other expository forms, and investigative journalism. So between the reading and the writing, we are going to be busy. As for content expectations, pretty straightforward. We want all of our students to be reading at least 30 minutes a night, at least 5 nights a week, and that's not an English expectation. That's a Blue Ridge norm. So while we want to go over it and echo it in English, we also know that that's expectation across the board for to be a student at Blue Ridge Middle School. In addition, we also want students to approach reading and writing with a growth mindset, whether they are struggling or feeling low in their confidence as readers and writers right now, or whether they're already flying and don't think they can grow anymore. We want to make sure all students can see reading and writing as a process and be able to use that growth mindset to grow this year. That's our focus, is growth. We want to make sure that by the end of this year, students feel prepared and confident for high school when they have so much flying at them at the beginning of their freshman year, so that hopefully just, that heavy lifting of that mental load of the intensive pressures for reading and writing are kind of taken off because we've prepared them so well. And if they can walk away with a deepened confidence in reading and writing skills this year, well, we've hit our mark. Bucket 2 instructional strategies, and expectations. At Blue Ridge in English, we run the workshop model, which actually lends itself perfectly to distance learning, where we teach a quick little mini lesson anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. We give students individual practice, and then they're off utilizing that time of individual practice from anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes to incorporate that skill into their work. And students are working at their own pace on different skills, all working towards the same goal, but they might be taking different avenues and different routes to get there. Of course, students are going to be working asynchronously on Monday, writing in their reading journals. Otherwise, Tuesday through Friday, we are going to be on a synchronous AABB schedule. So, of course, during Google Meets, we don't want your students just to be passive sitting there. We want them to be active listeners, actively engaged, whether that's typing in the chat, whether that's taking notes, whether that's working on their work as we guide and coach them along through the Google Meet in the same way that they would be active students in the classroom. In addition, when it comes to Learning Lab, yes, cameras might be off, and yes, students have that time to work, but in the same way when we would have workshop in class, they're using that time to go ahead and practice the skills that we just went over in direct instruction so they can really strengthen and solidify the toolbox that they're creating full of skills that they will be using next year in high school. Behavior expectations are the same that we've always had, even when we're in person in school. Arrive on time to class ready to learn, which, when Wi-Fi is available nowadays. Making sure that you respect everyone, including yourself, which is a big part about speaking up and advocating for oneself. I'm really trying to impress upon children this year, more than any other year, that part of self-respect is self-advocacy. Because if something's not going right, or we're confused, or we're lost, or something's not going the way that we want it to, we need to speak up. And trust me, I'll be there for your child 1,000% of the time. And to, of course, always give your best. Consistency here is key. Bucket number 3 brings us to assessment. Throughout this year, we'll use a variety of formative and summative assessments to go ahead and measure student learning as we do every year. So formative assessments would be those assignments kind of along the way that help me gauge just how students are progressing in their learning of what we're going over, the materials that we're covering. When it comes to summative assessments, those again are those culminating experiences in which students are able to synthesize their skills to show off what they've learned. Some, but certainly not all, the various ways that we will use assessment in classes here will be diagnostics, which are kind of like pre-tests to kind of measure what students already know so we can kind of target our instruction. Essays, especially major essays, which we'll refer to as formal writings for a lot of the year. Book club meetings, Socratic seminars, reading and writing goals that are individualized for the student as to what would be an appropriate growth challenge, graphic organizers, and while we don't assess reflection, we do want reflection to be central to our students' growth. So we always make sure that with major summatives, especially writings, we include reflection as a component. Last but not least, that brings us to staying connected throughout this year. We know that communication is key to success in whatever we do. So especially school, and especially this year, let's make sure we keep in touch. Whether that's through email, the email listed on the screen, whether that's through calling my LCPS virtual phone on the number listed on the screen, or even whether it's down to whatever routine you and your family have for making sure that you and your children are on the same page when it comes to their work in Parent View, in Schoology, whatever works best. Let's just make sure we all stay on the same page. And that's it. Really appreciate your time. I know that this time could be spent with family or helping to prepare things or just keeping everything going in your own house. So granting these 8 minutes, I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for all the dedication that you provide to your children and their schooling. Whatever I can do for you and your family, I will be there. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.